Our dear listeners of 93.1 IUFM, the judges, the participants, and the teachers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A good afternoon to you all. I welcome you to the second session of our debate of the second round, following the Affirmative World Schools debate under the theme, Empowering the Next Generation, Navigating Uganda's Digital, Economic and Social Frontiers. In the building, I have the two teams, one coming from Hamdan and the other coming from Ikiiki High School. Hamdan is coming in as the Negators and Ikiiki High as the Affirmers. From Ikiiki High, I have Sechanzi Muzafaru, I have Omule Paul Daniel, and finally Isaja Ian. From the Negators, from Hamdan, I have Chiwende Mastula, I have Nandudu Hafswat, and Namfuma Aida. They will be following a motion. Borrowing for digital infrastructure is the most critical investment for Uganda's next generation. Our dear listeners, my name is Nekesa Zabura Vanessa, and in the building, like I said earlier, I have the judges who include Mr. Luemba Musa, Mr. Mwanjia Swamad, and Asna, Honorable Asna Halima. I will call upon the judge to first take us through on how the assessment will be. Please, Mr. Luemba, mic is yours.
Thank you very much, dear MC and colleagues. Good afternoon and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I take the opportunity and honor to welcome the participants to this afternoon session. We also thank the teachers who have managed to be with us here, and we thank the schools that have made it possible for you to be with us here. On this table is Luemba Musa, then Mr. Mwanjia Swamad and Honorable Asina. Thank you all, once again for being with us till this far. That said, just a reminder, because the form that I have before you, which is an assessment or score sheet, is familiar to the members. It looks like this with its 10 items. It hasn't been altered with. And each of the members is going to be assessed out of 100. And each of the judges is going to assess you independently. So the independent marks from the different judges are the ones that are going to be summed up out of 900. I wish you the best, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before the debate starts, I would like to acknowledge our dear sponsors, who include Abra Supermarket, who is, we all know Abra Supermarket. It's in town. It has two branches. From there is one on Clock Tower and the other near Upland. Please go and support it in pilau, bread, cakes, etc. There is also Akajo Naku. This is an online YouTube channel headed by Mr. Ibrahim Lubega Kasinga, and mostly it talks about the history of various Ugandan personalities. We also have Health Spring Care Center. This one is in charge of health issues. If you have any issue with your health, you can go or pass by, and they help you with each and everything you need. There is also ISU Government. ISU Government is a body that governs students at Islamic University in Uganda, and please, more students, you're welcome. There is also Honorable Karim Masawa, and he needs your support in the upcoming elections of 2026. And finally, Hilltop View. It's a hotel in Bale City Town. It has accommodation rooms, conferences, local foods. They are hospitable and calm. The environment is okay. Please, if you need them, they are in Bale City. I would like to right away call upon our very first speaker from the affirmative side, who is none other than Sechanzi Muzaffar. You are welcome.
Borrowing wisely is not a weakness. It is a bridge to success and opportunities. Borrowing is not the problem, but the problem is what we are borrowing for. And what should be handled is planning. We should not look at borrowing. Our esteemed judges, worthy opponents, and our listeners, a good afternoon. And assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we have gathered here to talk about a topic of enormous importance, which I thank the people who prepared these debates for this motion. And as team affirmation, we are voting a tick for the resolution. And on our side of the house, you are going to be hearing from Omule Paul Daniel, the second, and Isaiah Ian, the third, and Resolve Satan Zubzafar, the first one speaking. Let me first briefly talk about the key terms in our resolution for tonight. Borrowing is an act of obtaining funds from external or internal sources with a commitment to repay. Digital infrastructure, according to our resolution tonight, means to rebuild and put in place internet for all everywhere in villages, cities, even us in Ikiiki be able to access this internet infrastructure, the so-called digital infrastructure, first mobile networks, computers, smartphones, and other digital equipments for business and other services. Most critical means the most urgent or top priority. Investment, acts of allocating resources such as money, time, or effort with the expectation of generating income, profit, appreciation in value over time. Next generation. This is our younger people, especially those who are currently in school, entering the job market, or starting a business. Generally, this motion is telling us that we should take loans, and we are supporting it as team affirmation, that we should take loans so that we can build internet, mobile networks, and other digital equipments as the most urgent thing we can do to empower and help the future generation to succeed in future. And our perimeters, because we believe the outside world has inspired us a lot in what we have done, in what we see. And our perimeters are going to be the world. Let me hope you are going to be good with them. Our sister school, it is obvious, we already have limited digital infrastructure, but weak digital public services. And our funding body, which is going to help us in implementing this resolution, is the public-private partnership. And this is our action plan and time frame we are going to carry out. From 2025 to 2026, we are going to secure strategic borrowing partnerships. 2027 to 2028, equip schools, youth centers, and institutions with needed requirements like computers and ICT labs. While in 2029, 2030, we are going to involve the UCC and the National Information and Technologies Authority to oversee implementation and also national integration and internet coverage with digital skills. And we are coming as the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance. And these are our aims and objectives. The first one is empowering Uganda's next generation to thrive in a digital knowledgeable based economy. And the second one, and the last, is to bridge the digital divide between the rural and the urban communities in Uganda. And today, that's why you are going to be hearing views from us. Like the first one will be bridges the digital gap between village and cities to a level infrastructure. The second, borrowing for productive infrastructure is an investment in the future revenue. The third, you can't build digital skills without digital access. The fourth is a bridge to future jobs and global competitiveness. And delay now means dependence later, as our last point. Let me talk about bridges the digital gap between villages and cities to a leveled infrastructure. Digital infrastructure is to help rurals access opportunities and services. In Uganda today, it's obvious. Most of the rural areas lack internet connection and a wide range for network coverage. For more information, you can come to Ikiiki, our openness. This has hindered beneficial information from reaching us in Ikiiki there. For example, today we have apps like Is-Agri for farmers and Matibabu for health, and already helping people, but it is helping people in towns who have good internet coverage. This Matibabu is a Ugandan innovation that diagnoses malaria without drawing blood. But can you do that without good internet, without a smartphone? Our opponent might ask that, why do you want to implement this when the rural areas lack phones? Most of them lack phones to access this. Thank you. Time is up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Sechanzi Muzaffar from Ikiiki High. I'd like to call upon our first negator, who is Tiwinde Mastura. You're welcome.
Thank you. The table of judges, the moderator, the two competitive bodies, the audience plus the listeners of 93.1 IU FM. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Tiwande Mastula from Hamdan Girls High School. As the negator number 1, alongside me I'm with Honorable Nadudu Hafsat as negator number 2 and Honorable Nafuma Aida as negator number 3. We are here to negate a resolution that states that borrowing for digital infrastructure is the most critical investment for Uganda's next generation. And we as the negators will say no. First and foremost, I would like to give the meanings of the key terms in the resolution. Number 1, borrowing. Borrowing means the act of taking something that belongs to somebody else with an intention of taking it back. For example, money. Digital means something which is connected to the use of computer technology. Infrastructure. Infrastructure simply means the basic systems that an organization or a company must have to run smoothly. For example, buildings, transport, etc. In simply, digital infrastructure means digital infrastructures are the foundations of our modern world or our modern connected world. Critical and under digital infrastructure, these are like the invisible scaffoldings that supports everything we do online, starting from sending a message to streaming a video or even starting a business. The examples of digital infrastructures include data centers, and these are the massive facilities that store, manage, and process data, networks and connectivity, cloud platforms, cyber security frameworks, and these are the measures that protect the digital systems from threats and unauthorized access. Where are the digital infrastructures used? Online banking, government services, for example, digital ID and tax filing, e-learning platforms, smart agriculture, and telemedicine. Here is the breakdown of the key terms according to what the resolution is all about. Borrowing. Now, this means that the government takes money from other countries, for example, China, USA, banks, or international organizations like the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. For digital infrastructure, this simply means that the money they are borrowing, they are going to use it to build the the technology-based systems, for example, online and mobile networks, e-government platforms, data centers, ICT in schools and healthcare is the most critical investment. This simply means that borrowing for digital infrastructure is framed as the top priority, even more important than things like roads, agriculture and healthcare infrastructures. For Uganda's next generation, this simply means that the goal of the government taking loans is to prepare the youth for digital future jobs. For example, the online education, digital businesses, and the global opportunities. In simple terms, the resolution is meaning that Uganda should take out loans to build their digital systems because it is the most important things to help the youth to succeed in future. And we as the Negators, we say no because of the following points. The first one is debt sustainability risks, low digital literacy and readiness, regulatory and security challenges, misalignment with immediate needs. And I'm going to talk about misalignment with immediate needs. This simply means that Uganda, we all know that it's still facing basic infrastructure gaps, for example, roads, electricity, and clean water, which may have immediate and inclusive benefits. That is to say, we all know that Uganda is not well developed when we come to transport, it's not well developed when we come to electricity and also to clean water. Now, if the government is starting to get loans to develop the digital infrastructures, whereby their benefits are not easily seen, because a person may spend a day without using the internet, but cannot spend a day without using the road. So this person is if the government borrows money for digital infrastructures, whereby the digital infrastructures, they don't have benefit, that their benefits are there, but they are not inclusive, or they are not used on daily basis, instead of borrowing money for the basic infrastructures, whereby their uses are very needed in the community, it's going to lead to a burden to the country. And under this, prioritizing digital infrastructure might widen inequality if rural areas do not have the digital infrastructure tools, for example, smartphones, computers, and the access to internet. It will not benefit the rural areas. That is to say, not allowed, not interested. That is to say, if the digital infrastructures are being prioritized, the rural areas are not going to benefit because they are not going to have access. And our Affirmative was here to explain us why the digital infrastructures are not to benefit the rural areas, but you never completed. Now, digital infrastructures do not benefit the rural areas because they don't have access to them and they don't have easy access to the internet. Whereby getting loans, it's not going to benefit the rural areas, and we all know that the most population might be in rural areas than urban areas. Now, the country is not going to benefit much from getting these loans because the rural areas are not going to be benefiting to them, leading to inequality in our country. Debt sustainability and risks. Not interested. The risks, the country is going to be having a burden of facing risks because low digital literacy and readiness. Most people in rural areas do not have knowledge about the use of digital infrastructures. That is to say that the knowledge about how to use phones, computers, and the knowledge about ICT, they don't have them now. If the minority are the ones which are having knowledge about the digital infrastructures, and the majority are the ones which are not having the knowledge about the digital infrastructures, borrowing for digital infrastructure is not going to benefit the country because the majority are not going to be having the knowledge about using them or accessing them, and the minority are the ones which are going to be having the knowledge of accessing them. Regulatory and security challenges. These digital infrastructures have challenges of security because some people have a tendency of hacking other people's personal information. For example, I can go in my friend's personal information, thereby I'm not putting a benefit of these digital infrastructures, because I'm going to be knowing the person's privacy matters, and the government has not. We all know that these digital infrastructures are still around and they are being used. Yet we are still facing the risks, and the government, if it decides to again borrow money for these digital infrastructures, we are not going to benefit, because it is still around, but it's having challenges. Allow me to rest my case.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chibwinde Mastula from Hamdan. I would like to call upon our second affirmer from Ikiiki High, who is Omule Paul Dania. You're welcome.
Knowing others is intelligence, and knowing yourself is wisdom. Our dear esteemed judges, the two competitive bodies, and the listeners tuned to 93.1 FM, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa ta'ala wa barakatuh. For the Christians, pray God. Praise God. Honorable judges, I want to thank you for stating this resolution. This resolution states that borrowing for digital infrastructure is the most critical investment for Uganda's next generation. Next generation, I hope that is quoted over the opponents. Our theme clearly states, empowering the next generation navigating Uganda's digital, economic and social frontiers. Honorable judges, the Negators came and dropped off. If we invest or if we borrow for digital infrastructure, it is going to be a burden. But the first affirmer, Honorable Zafar, came properly and stated our action plan of 5 years, which means by 5 years we have achieved our goal. And also she talked about risks and knowledge on ICT. Remember, we already have this digital infrastructure, but it is still weak, it's still crippling. We need to add in more. So that's why we came with our 5-year plan, that we are going to make it reach to those even in the rural areas. And remember, it's an investment for Uganda's next generation. I hope you quoted that clearly. And she also talks of a risk. If I'm to ask myself, how is it of a risk? That you will come and answer it later. And if I'm to ask honorables, once Mr. Abaleo noted that borrowing isn't totally bad, but it depends on what the debt is financing. And also I would like to ask the honorable negators, if Uganda doesn't borrow for digital infrastructure, how will it fund this urgent need? How? Honorable judges, I'm going to talk of a point that comes. Digital infrastructure is the bridge to future jobs and opportunities and global competitiveness. With access to the internet and digital tools, Ugandan youths are locked out of the modern economy. That's a national emergency. Over 4,000 Ugandan graduates enter the job market annually, yet they don't have access to the global freelance platforms, tech training, remote opportunity due to poor digital infrastructure. Honorable judges, according to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, digital trade and services are now account for 50% of the global exports. Uganda can't benefit from this without connectivity. This was published on the unctda.org.com, December 6, 2024. Honorable judges, there's a proverb that goes, you can't climb a tree from the top, you must start from the foundation. So what we call this foundation, that's the digital infrastructure. Honorable negators, if I'm to inform you. Allow me to educate you that borrowing to build a foundation empowers the youth to navigate the digital frontiers and global competitive world. Very well stated, navigating Uganda's digital economy and social frontiers. Hope you quoted that. And honorable judges, It was once published on the Weekend's Vision, September 21st, 2024, that a shared digital infrastructure to unlock opportunities for startups, which means already we have the digital infrastructure, but it's still wanting. So why don't we borrow? Because we are borrowing with purpose. We are borrowing for investment, not for luxury, not for consumption. So, Honorable Judges, allow me to present this evidence to your table. Thank you so much. Also, I'll talk on the next point that says borrowing for productive infrastructure is an investment for future revenue. Mark you, Honorable Negators, let me educate you that if we borrow and build improved digital infrastructure, it's going to boost our revenue in the future because most of the things are now done online. Honorable Judges, we have these apps like Jumia, Matibabu. Those are online platforms that are trading right now. So if we borrow and invest to manufacture these apps, like make everyone dilute in it, like let it reach out to the rural areas. Honorable Judges, Uganda's real problem isn't building, but what we borrow for is the problem. If we invest in a revenue-generating infrastructure, we reduce the dependency of foreign aid and increase national income. Uganda tax to GPD ratio is low partly because of an informal economy and poor service delivery. Digital systems can formalize commerce and improve on the tax. Let me inform you, Honorable Negators. Honorable Negators, it's evidenced Rwanda borrowed to build a 4G LTE network through the public-private partnership and saw massive improvement in the e-governance and saw delivery, reduced corruption and improved efficiency. This was published on November 24th on pc-mag.com on 21st. Honorable Judges, they say, let's not look where we fall, let's look where we sleep. Uganda hasn't failed because of borrowing. It has failed because of poor planning. So as we came, the first Honorable Affirmative said we are going to come with a five-year action plan that we have correctly stated it to you. So if we follow that, we shall achieve our goals and objectives. So with the digital infrastructure, we fix the causes, not the symptoms. Smart borrowing empowers the states to thrive through digitalized services. So Honorable Judges, I support and I urge you to vote in favor of the motion that says borrowing for digital infrastructure is the most critical investment for Uganda's next generation. We are targeting the generation that currently is at school, that currently is still planned for. So by the time we reach the Honorable Judges, we can look at examples like Singapore, look at examples like the US. They are countries that are leading with the digital infrastructure. They are well versed with the ICT, each and everything is smart and mobile. Honorable Judges, I'll talk of the last point that says, you can't build a digital skill without digital access. So which means we have this digital infrastructure, but it is low. So, Honorable Judges, according to UNESCO, a coordinated study was studied that during COVID-19, nearly 90% of the students lacked digital devices. These digital devices include like the smartphones, the radio station, the portable radios. We have the computers for home study equipment. So we're unable to get online studies, making it impossible for most of the youth and most of the students to access services. The source of this was the Uganda Radio Network, April 2022, 22nd. So, Honorable Judges, most schools and rural areas, youth have zero digital access. That creates a double barrier where only youth in the urban or privileged settings are digitally empowered and widening equality. Honorable Judges, there's a proverb that says you can't teach a child how to swim unless you take him or her to the river. So a learner without access to digital infrastructure, which means training, is meaningless. Honorable Judges, I would like to submit to you this evidence, which was published on the Daily Monitor Monday, May 2026, Daily Monitor Monday, May on the 26th, 2025. It says, Makerere 18,000 computers revitalized laboratory in the era. Makerere University is facing a shortage of digital infrastructure with a few of its students owning personal computers. So, Honorable Judges, what does this imply to us? It means, let me submit this to the head of the judges. History has made itself repeat again. I beg to rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Omule Paul Daniel from Ikiiki, that was an farmer. I would like to go on the Negators side, and Nandudu Hafswat, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I recognize the table of judges, the audience, and our dear listeners outside there. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Nandud Hafswat, alongside with my fellows. We have come here to negate against the motion that says borrowing for digital infrastructure is the most critical investment for the next Uganda's generation. To begin with, the farmers left questions in the room, and they were asking, how is it a risk? Because one of my fellows said, she said it's a debt sustainability risk, and she clearly explained and said, increased national debt can strain Uganda's fiscal health, especially if returns on digital infrastructure are delayed. So you are asking, how is it a risk? Remember, we are borrowing money to insert into something we don't know whether it will bring up high yields or not. So it's a risk. We are just borrowing money. It's not our own money. We are just going outside borrowing this money. This money comes along with interests. Yet while we're inserting this money, we don't know whether it will yield what we want or not. Not allowed. And you also asked that one of the farmers said this is going to build the gap between the rural and those in towns. But do you know that the village places, just like you said, your place, Ikiiki, you know that these places, people there are less exposed to the digital. Even if you say you're going to take it there, but do you know that? Please, first allow me finish what I'm doing. And you know that taking for someone something, yet she doesn't know how to use it. What use is it going to be there? You're taking for someone a laptop, but she doesn't even know how to operate it. How is it going to be of use? Yet we borrow the money to put into the thing to get developed. The people we are giving, they even don't know how it is going to be used. How are we going to get the money and pay back? I continue. My fellow farmer said it very well. Sorry. My fellow negator came up and said it's the debt servicing cost. The debt servicing cost might divert funds from essential factors. We are borrowing money from outside. We are borrowing money to insert into the digital. But remember, this digital infrastructure is not the urgent need that is going to lead Uganda to the future. But here we are borrowing money to insert in it. Don't you see that when we try to pay this debt and perhaps we don't pay it, there will be need to again pick money from other sectors so that we pay this debt. Yet Uganda is already a developing country. There are other sectors which really need to be invested in. And now, because of those debts, we are going to just pick money from them to pay the loans. She also mentioned of misalignment with immediate needs. Still, not allowed. Still, this is under the same debt. Because already, like I said, Uganda is facing we have other urgent needs that we have to work upon. We have roads, electricity, and clean water. Our people, most of the societies, our people are not accessing to clean water. So tell me, we borrow money, we insert in the digital infrastructure, yet our people are suffering from diseases which are being caused by the dirty water sources. I think we should first look upon the urgent ones before we go and look at digital infrastructure. We are also saying that there is low digital literacy and readiness. Just like I said at first, we are going to borrow this money to help these people, to help ourselves, the Ugandans, develop into the next come to the next generation. But recall, we don't even have This one, we don't even have this knowledge. A significant portion of the population may lack skills to use digital services. And here is the evidence. According to the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, a staggering 88% of Ugandans have never used the internet, and only 7% use it daily. So tell me, the 88% who have never used it, how are they going to benefit from this money being borrowed? Yet all the citizens of Uganda are expected to move to the next generation. How are these 88% going to benefit from this money? And still, the 7% that accesses to the internet does not use it daily. We just borrowed money to insert into the digital infrastructure. But here, the people using it are not even using it daily. How is the money going to turn up and we pay the loans we borrowed? Yet remember, they come with interest. Not allowed. Like I said here, the digital skills score for Uganda was just 33% in 2021, reflecting a major barrier for adoption and usage. Our skills in using these digital gadgets is just 33%. And to remind you, we have been getting debts. In the 2023-2024 debt stability analysis by Uganda's Ministry of Finance, it wants a moderate risk of debt distress. Already we are having debts which are stressing us. And here you want us to again go and borrow money to put in digital infrastructure, of whose returns we don't know. We don't know whether we are going to get enough so that we pay back the loans. And recall, as I say, it's not the most critical. We have other problems we are trying to solve as a developing country. So you can't think that we shall leave those small ones that are oppressing our people. We go on and develop the digital infrastructure. Like my Affirmative say, there is regulatory and insecurity challenges. Rapid digital expansion with strict regulations can lead to data privacy. Here are our youth. We can hear of TikTok, we can hear of other apps on internet. They are exposed to the internet. But now, you see what they are doing. We are seeing things like cyberbullying, cyber crimes. So we inserted money in digital infrastructure. And now see, the youth are just misusing this. They are just using it for other useless things that are not going to even develop our country. I want to say, the most percentage of the youth on internet are not doing developmental things, but they are not doing developmental things. Like as I was talking, Uganda's regulatory framework is still evolving, and weak enforcement could expose citizens to exploitation. This internet, it has, as the youth are getting more exposed to it, remember the youth, this is the biggest content that is leading us to the next generation. But when they reach the internet, they are being misled by other things that do not develop the country. So tell me, we can't borrow money to insert in the digital infrastructure, yet the people using it are not using it the way it's supposed to be used. Recall, we just borrowed this money. We have to pay it back, moreover with interest. So tell me, not allowed. So tell me, how are we going to get the money to pay back these debts? That's my guess.
Thank you so much, Honorable Nandudu Hamswat from Hamdan Girls High School. I would like to call upon the third affirmer, who is none other than Isaja Ian.
First of all, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good afternoon to you all, and all the listeners of 93.1 IUIU FM. Standing in front of you is Isaja Ian and our farmer, supporting the resolution. Borrowing for digital infrastructure is the most critical investment for Uganda's next generation. Our honored judges, the Negators have come and told us that cybersecurity is not needed. is low at this point. But our honored judges, when we introduce digital infrastructure or when we borrow for digital infrastructure, we shall implement cybersecurity. Cybersecurity helps us to keep our privacy. Our honored judges, we have talked about bridging the gap. As IUIU's motto or slogan says, bridging the gap. We want to bridge the gap between Mbale and Ikiiki. We want to bridge that gap. Sincerely, how can all those urban schools get or access digital infrastructure while Ikiiki High is not accessing it? If they are saying that they should leave the digital infrastructure for those who can afford and those who know how to use it, how will you come and tell the rural area people that we are developing? That is racism, seriously. In the village, there are job creators, youth, seriously. And those youth have ideas of starting up businesses and innovating so that they can fit into the next world. Under our theme, empowering the next generation, navigating Uganda's digital, economic and social frontiers. How will you cater for those youth if you don't put digital infrastructure or if you don't borrow for it? Not allowed. Seriously, if you are leaving our youth in the rural areas behind, will you call all of them that they are citizens of Uganda? That's why we are borrowing for digital infrastructure. And I will propose a question, not allowed. Can you propose an alternative investment that would yield higher returns and greater benefits for Uganda's next generation, apart from borrowing for digital infrastructure? We are seeing countries like the United States of America, China, Singapore. Singapore was behind of us. Uganda was developing and Singapore was still in bed sleeping. But now Singapore is one of the top countries with digital infrastructure. The other judges, they talked of low digital literacy and readiness, not allowed. They talked of low digital literacy and readiness. In the rural areas, we all know that most of the rural people don't have access to digital infrastructure. But on borrowing, we shall be able to cater for them. Our honorable judges, just put yourself in the shoes of your child who is studying in the village. He doesn't have access to internet cafe, but they're telling him to go and research. Seriously. Is that equality in our people? Not allowed. Let me hint on a point. Delay now means dependence later. Our honored judges, if we delay for digital investment in Uganda today, Uganda will fall further behind becoming a passive consumer of global technology instead of a creator. Seriously, if we are to leave borrowing for digital infrastructure, all the other countries that are developing, look of Kenya. Kenya is more developed than us. But some of the reasons is digital infrastructure. We know that we are also developing, but we are developing on a slow rate. It's like running a marathon. The others are pointing in front for you are facing behind that you're running a marathon. Is really that the Uganda we want? And if you are saying that we should abandon borrowing for digital infrastructure, are you really citizens of the country and patriots? Not allowed. Our honored judges, the Negators, the first Negator came and said, talked of all their points and views, but I don't know whether they agreed with our parameters. I didn't hear of their status quo. I don't know whether when we are arguing, we agree or disagree. so it's a question for them. And if you are not supporting borrowing for digital infrastructure, it means you don't need a bright future as a youth. Youth in schools right now, they know, they are always thinking of digital infrastructure. If I'm able to know that Trace Academia is there, I can teach others. And borrowing for digital infrastructure will help us. Thank you later. Borrowing for digital infrastructure will help us enable the youth or the next generation to account or be prepared citizens of the next world. Because when we are in class, all of us, you can't say that the teacher will teach only those who are bright and leave the dull ones. Because even the dull ones need to get knowledge. In the 21st century, digital infrastructure and proficiency are key requirements in every sector. Long time ago, we used to hear of barter trade, but now there is online trade. If a teenager or a student in secondary school or primary can know that there is Bitcoin, I can trade and get money and help me sustain myself. Now, if you are saying that we remove or we disqualify borrowing for digital infrastructure, how will that youth know? Seriously. Digital infrastructure helps in innovation, creativity, and independent thinking of living. Digital infrastructure are on our judges. When we are to talk of digital infrastructure, it has promoted development in many countries, but Uganda, we are falling back. We are not saying that borrowing is good. Borrowing is not good, but borrowing is needed where necessary. Our esteemed judges, I remain Mr. Jadian, and may rest my case.
Thank you so much, Honorable Isaja Ian from Ikiiki High. I would like to call upon our very last participant, who is none other than Namfuma Aida. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Recognize the table of judges, the MC, the patrons present, the two competitive bodies, the audience and the listeners of 93.1 IU FM. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm Nafma Aida, the third negator from Hamdan Girls High School. Present today, we are negating a resolution that says borrowing for digital infrastructure is the most critical investment for Uganda's next generation. First and foremost, one of the farmers comes and tells us about how it will generate future revenue. You're talking of future revenue, forgetting your borrowing, and you'll have to take back the money. So, if at all where you want to invest, you do not yield what you expect, then you will be forced to have to pay back the money, yet you're leaving your country bankrupt. So, is that what you call future revenue? Then, to be sincere, the first farmer qualified the youths as the ones who are in schools, and the second farmer also supplemented with an example of the students at Makerere University. So, our dear farmers, where are you leaving the youth that are not in school? Are they not other members who are going to the next generation? Are only the youths who are literate who are going to the next generation? You're only focusing on the youths who are in schools, forgetting our colleagues who are not in school. So, how will you cater for them? One of the last farmer tells us that if they get the access from the digital infrastructures, they will be able to teach the others. So, you want to tell me you're teaching someone who is not in school where you've got it from? How will they be able to accept that what you're speaking is real, yet they have never got access of that? Wait. So, one of the farmers asked us whether we are patrons.
Yes, we are patriots as citizens of Uganda. We are caring for it. We don't want our country to be filled with debts because it will be a burden to them. Our country, we are showing the love for the country. We want the country to invest in something else. First of all, even our former people called this where we are, the next generation. So you want to tell me even them worked on digital infrastructures to sustain us? They never did that. But us as the next generation, to work for others who will come after us, or us the very youth who are going to the next generation. It doesn't need the digital infrastructures only for that. You can wait. One asks us whether we can invest in something else that can develop Uganda to the next generation. So you want to make us think that all along Uganda has been benefiting from digital infrastructures. Where are you leaving the sectors like agriculture, the backbone of Uganda? Where are you leaving it? That is one of the major economic factor of Uganda. So where are we forgetting it? One of my colleagues comes here and tells us about the debt sustainability risks, and the farmers try to rubbish it off. But sincerely, are you forgetting that this money, we are borrowing it? You gave us a status quo that included the 5 years. You're still planning for the 5 years, you borrowed the money. If just planning has taken you 5 years, then repaying the money back when? When will you repay the money? Yet just planning has taken you 5 years. Wait. Then, one told us that it will promote creativity, independent thinking. So, you want to tell us, the youth, because that is what you're referring to as the next generation. So, you want to tell us the youth will only get the independent thinking after accessing the digital infrastructures? No, because when we are talking of, one of my colleagues say, misalignment with immediate needs. So that's where we compare the rural areas and the urban areas, because we all know the highest population in Uganda is in areas like Kapirabyong that some of you have even never had. So if some of us have even, some of you here in such areas for the first time, then how will you invest in such areas that you don't know? Not allowed. So those areas will still lag behind despite you borrowing the money for it. So you're telling us how you're going to bridge the gap between the rural areas and the urban areas, but this is something that we all have to understand that it has been there. Yes, the digital infrastructures have been there, but so far for the time they have been there, still rural areas are lagging behind. They are only developing the urban areas. So how can you qualify that statement to tell us that you're going to help them? Despite the fact that even in their existence, those people have still lagged behind. So one of our colleagues also comes here and tells us about regulatory and security challenges. And one of the farmers says that cyber security, they've seen it as a risk. Is not there, but we say it as a challenge. It is a challenge there. So, us saying it is a challenge, we are meaning it has already been there. We've all received cases like cyberbullying that you also talked about, and one of my negators said it. So, the fact that we are still receiving such cases, despite its existence there, then when are you going to implement the regulations that you're talking about, despite your farmers having not wanted such? So for that case, I think we should clarify that, and we should know, till you put those regulations, there is nothing like borrowing for that. Because you can't borrow money after knowing the impact or the negative side of the digital infrastructures. Having known its impact, you still want to cause the same. Then one of my farmers also talks about the digital literacy and readiness. So when it comes to this, you all say it that most of the farmers were basing on our colleagues, us who are in schools, forgetting our colleagues who are not in schools. despite of the other reasons as to why they are not in school. So if one didn't manage to be in school, maybe in case for the issue of fees, then how is that person going to be able to access the digital devices such as the smartphone in those areas? That means it will require you. We also thought that you would have told us something like developing schools to teach them about how to use the digital infrastructures. What you didn't tell us, they would have accepted, but the fact that you don't even have the hope to educate them, then you will leave them behind. They are trying to tell us that you will connect the bridge, they will remain illiterate, and you will remain illiterate, not allowed. Thank you. I plead to rest my case.
Thank you so much, Honorable Namfuma Aida from Hamdan Girls High School. As the judges prepare their assessments, I would like to remind our dear listeners that in the building we have Ikiiki High and Hamdan Girls High School. Amongst them, the participants were Sechans Mzafaru, Omule Paul Daniel, Isaja Ian from the Affirmative, and then the Negators, Tibuide Mastula, Nandudu Hafswat, and Namfuma Aida. The debate was under the motion, borrowing for digital infrastructure is the most critical investment for Uganda's next generation. Under the theme, empowering the next generation, navigating Uganda's digital, economic, and social frontiers. I would right away welcome our very first judge to tell us his observation and give us his remarks. Welcome, Mr. Mwani.
Thank you, Madam MC. And thank you to the two schools, Hamdan Girls and Ikiiki High School. I thank you, I thank the administration and the teachers and the students who are not here. So I thank you all for all the efforts put in to see that today becomes a day for discussing whether we should borrow for digital infrastructure development or we can invest in other sectors. Still, these are my observations, not so many, and I want to first consider that you are really improved. So thank you for that. I had problems with the definition. We have to first understand the topic and what are the main words for defining and what are the auxiliary words. We can have a definition of digital infrastructure. When we separate digital from the infrastructure, we are going to give two different definitions, not related to the topic. So we can't define what is digital and what is infrastructure. We can only define digital infrastructure as a single phrase. Then, still on the general observations, maybe we have also to understand that when we are discussing, we are not discussing in utopia, in an imagined world. We are discussing realities. So, for every point we have to make, the points should be having the facts of reality, not just thinking and imagining. And we do, when I was still doing O-level English, there was something called imaginative composition and grammar. I don't know with the current curriculum if it is still there. So imagine and write a story ending or a day I'll never forget. So in debating and in discussions, we are looking at, that's why we always tell you, please, can you show the evidence? So that is the general comment. Quickly, we'll move to my good friends from Ikiiki. You know, I don't know if you know TED Talks. I am a fan of TED Talks. They bring a prominent person to go and make speeches. So, they start with that aura of when I was still a young person. My mother used to carry me by the back. So I liked that. It is something good for TED Talks. Is it good for the debates? Maybe. But it was something, it was a new innovation. And all the three members of it did it, so it was good to me. Are we having internet infrastructure or digital infrastructure? Sometimes we got caught up by that, and then investing for the future, not thinking of now. So should we just borrow, because after today we are going to die, and those who will come after us, Mr. Paul Daniel, these people coming after us, they will see themselves out of their debt. You know, they told us that because of the sins our parents did in Congo, we are paying something to the Republic of Congo. So should we also act like them? This smart generation which wants to borrow for digital infrastructure development? That's a question for us. And then, Mr. Daniel, I had a problem with this evidence you gave us with Weekend Vision, September 21st to 22nd, 2024. The topic, the heading is Shared Digital Infrastructure. To share, you see? And then the topic is borrowing for infrastructure development, digital infrastructure development. So I just want to have, maybe after you are going to think about it, don't you think when we have shared digital infrastructure, MTN, instead of MTN coming to build a mast, it can just come and they tap on the Airtel one. Don't you think now, if we do it, that there will be no need for borrowing? If we have shared infrastructure, if you are Renault and there is another internet service provider, please don't go and build, just go and use a cell. So after using shared digital infrastructure, do you think there will be a need for borrowing money? That is something for you to think about. And then, Mr. Ian, I think we got mixed up with the word racism, or to mean what you wanted to mean. And then you gave very good examples of Singapore and the States. And for me, I was interested in numbers. How much did Singapore borrow to invest in its digital infrastructure to be the current Singapore we all admire? I do not like the example of Bitcoin. I would like my next generation youth to be interested in mining coins and other utopia, imaginative money. So if we are building for the next generation, we should not encourage them to be interested in money like Bitcoin. They are going to be scammed. Then Madam Aida, when you cite, how can we be sure that from the audience or from the people you are discussing with, there is no one from the place you are saying that I know you don't know? But if the point you denied, the point of information you denied was from someone who was actually coming from, what was the district? The person, I saw that, persisted in asking the point of information. Maybe he wanted to tell you that, for me, my family is from there. So sometimes before we do generic assumptions, we can have a very simple English word called some. So when Daniel says, I'm from there, you can also say, but I did not include you, you are the others, which some is catering for. You get the point? So that one was not very good. my sister Mastura, data privacy, you struggled to explain it, but nonetheless we maybe understood it, and from the point that my friends from Ikiiki reacted it was good. Then sometimes we have to slow down. Take that deep breath and then we make the points. For the first few minutes you are still somewhere not so actually really of what you were trying to tell us. When you composed, actually you started making things happen. So maybe when the distance from the podium, maybe the next time the organizer should make a podium very far from where these people are sitting, so that by the time they reach the podium, they are composed. So with those remarks, I want to congratulate all of you, and then also promise you that the future is there for you. It can be dark or bright, depending on how you handle the present. Thank you.
Thank you so much, our judge, Mr. Mwanja Somai. I would like to call upon our second judge, who is none other than Honorable Asna Halima.
Thank you so much, Zabula.
Really?
Yeah, you know, these days they have modernized even how we call our names. So Zabura, calling us Zabura, being Zabula. You know that truth, right? So thank you very much, Madam Zabura, for this wonderful time that you've taken us through the session. Today I must say I'm a little bit, what is the right word to say, disappointed. Because this being your second time, we hope to see something better or best. But I'm a little bit disappointed. Last time I didn't meet Ikiiki, I met Hamdan Girls. So I'm a little bit disappointed, but nevertheless, thank you for coming again, and congratulations for the wonderful show that you've shown us there. Directly, I will go to Muzaffar. Muzaffar, did you come here to read for us notes? No. A debate is something that you come to present. What are your ideas? We believe you as a team, you discussed, you understood the topic, you went through everything day and night, but throughout, you're just reading. So that is not good. As a debater, you pick one point and discuss it. Is it fine? Am I being good? Okay, so we don't read the notes, we just summarize them. Next time, if you're going to do another debate, please understand the topic and take time to also conclude. Even if they say, Honorable Muzaffar, your time is up. Take that 1 minute or 30 seconds and thank the MC for that wonderful time that she has given you, and please conclude. Just don't say thank you or don't just move away. That shows that you're not happy at all with what she has told you, okay? So next time if you're to conclude nicely. Don't just move away. Is it fine? Is that fine? Good. So I'll go to Mastula. Mastula, the definition, Mr. Mwanja has talked about the definition. The other one's definition is the one that you were giving us. We tend to always come for debates. If the other speaker spoke of the, defined, please always choose something that he has not said. Are you getting me? Yeah. So I assumed that you were cramming, and the way you were looking up and down is as if the whole thing were cram work. As a debater, you don't deviate from what you're doing. You always concentrate and look directly to the what? To the audience. So Mastula, you are a good speaker, but that thing has refused in you. Even the previous time we talked about it, but you're still keeping it back. So we believe that if you're to go through to the next stage, we don't want to see this, and we want you to at least point out a point, explain it. Don't overdwell on your paper. Okay? Yeah. Paul, the same problem of reading your notes. I think you sat down and summarized the points for us, and just to come and read for us. I didn't like it. That's why I'm saying I'm a little bit disappointed, but I know this will be corrected. Isaja, you didn't take your responsibility as the last speaker. Your role is to come here and conclude what the previous speakers have said. So you did not take your role very well. You rather came here to speak your own. You didn't even refute. You didn't even, I didn't really like the style, okay? Then you have to accept. If they call 3 times and you say not allowed, you respect them, because you might be speaking something and you're going astray. So if they raise these POIs, respect them. Sometimes they guide you. You may be going astray, but if you follow the right way and answer him, he may give you the right way to go. And lastly is Ida. Ida, you are a good speaker, but you're a little bit nervous, anxious. Learn this trick of coming and taking in, like breathing, breathe out, like 3 times, to calm yourself down. Okay? You're a good speaker, but when you come, I see that small shakes in you. I feel them, and I see you. You want to say something, but that fear is in you, okay? So next time, work on that. Breathe in and out. Anxiety is very normal to feel anxious, to feel bad, to feel scared. But if you calm yourself down, you always speak well. So I want to thank you for coming this far. It's not easy. It has not been easy, and it's still not easy. So even if you lose today, never lose hope. Debate is a place for all of you to be in, and keep it up. Always go for it. Never back up. Thank you for listening to me. I remain Asina Halima. Good afternoon to you all.
Thank you so much, Honorable Asina Halima. I would like to go to our last judge. Please, participants, you should all prepare for the final judge. You'll have to breathe in, then breathe out. So I would like to call upon Mr. Luemba to give us his remarks. You're welcome.
Thank you, the IMC and the members. Good afternoon and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I take the opportunity and honor to welcome the members from that fourth afternoon session. Indeed, you have exhibited good performance, and whereas probably it was not to the expectation of Honorable, but at least it is an improvement from the previous performances, and for that I thank you. It is a process, and I know we shall be there. To remind our dear listeners, the motion is borrowing for digital infrastructure is the most critical investment for Uganda's next generation. Like my colleagues have noted, there are key terms here that you must operationalize, that you must have refined, and there are those which are auxiliary, like again we've been informed. Borrowing here, yes you can, yes you might believe that is fine, because there might not be any operationalization of that concept. But digital infrastructure is a key term, and like you've been told, if you dissect it into 2, then you have a different understanding of the concept. So it is supposed to be digital infrastructure as one, not in any way for you to separate the 2. Then investment, that is fine. And then the next generation, do we need to talk about it? Do we not need to talk about it? Today is history from yesterday, but tomorrow will be history from today. So when does the next generation begin? It means that you must understand the generation we are talking about and the one that we are looking up to, which is what we are calling the next. So I think it was important for you to also give us an understanding of what you think is actually the next generation. Wherever you read, people talk about today's generation. Does that mean it is the next generation, or does that mean that there is a generation after that? Remember, today's generation is what defines the next generation. So we also needed to have an understanding of that key term, because it says something about the emotion itself. And then still in line of the theme, do we borrow? Yes, we borrow. Do we borrow for digital infrastructure? Probably we do, probably we don't. Again, a member was supposed to give us some insights into if we borrow, because these are statistics and figures which are accessible. If we borrow and we borrow for digital infrastructure, how much do we borrow for that? And then can we link the borrowing to the aspect of investment? If our parents, for example, are paying the fees for us, there are chances that we shall help, there are chances we shall not help. Is it a critical investment? What makes it a critical investment for this parent who is paying fees for you and expects that you are part of the next generation that will support or help him at that particular point? So it means still at that point we needed to show the relationship between the borrowing and the aspect of the investment. And then how about investment without borrowing? If borrowing for digital infrastructure is the most critical investment, can we invest in digital infrastructure without borrowing? Which of these concepts can we omit for us to get what the negators are supposed to actually work on? Are we saying it is borrowing or not borrowing? Or are we saying it is borrowing for digital infrastructure, or it is borrowing for other services or sectors or facilities outside of digital infrastructure? Or are we saying that we can borrow for digital infrastructure, but alongside borrowing for others, so that this is not the biggest investment we can make? So all these, why I'm saying this is to help you, to show you the different dimensions of the motion and how we can actually interpret it better. So that is why I would think that you should always raise these questions whenever you come across a motion, to see which is a standalone, because in this, the borrowing is a standalone. But digital infrastructure, that is into question, a critical investment is into question, next generation is a standalone. Okay, back to the specific individuals, such as the definition of key terms. I think that was fine, but you've been told why define the word critical, but yet it is going to continuously come out again and again in your discussions, because you will keep reminding us that this is why this is the most critical investment. This is the most critical investment. So it means critical also becomes a standalone that you might not need to actually define in your introduction to the motion. And then you also say you have limited digital infrastructures. The question is, what are you taking as limited? And do we say that our digital infrastructures are actually limited? Your elaboration of the plan, I think it was timely, though the colleagues had a problem with that. To read to save on time, redefinitions, I think it has also come out right. And we agreed that if the other members have actually defined the terms, then that is good time for us to say that we shall not define these terms, since the definitions have been given to us by the other honorables. However, when the Honorable was defining, he didn't define investment. So it means you are picking out what you think he didn't define for clarity to the members who are listening in. And that we say it helps you to save on some minutes that you are going to spend defining what has already been defined, but yet it comes to the same thing. And then you also had an issue of talking to the members while closing the eyes. I don't think this is something you've been doing, and I was wondering what had happened today. For whatever reasons, I cannot imagine, but for whatever reasons, we try as much as possible to actually look at the members and the audience. We said if you can't look at them in the face, at least look at the wall behind. That will help you to gather up the confidence, and no one will even assume you're not looking at him. But the moment you choose to close the eyes, then it says something different. Then the issue of point of information, I think Honorable Harim has talked about it. Then he also noted that rural areas will not benefit due to lack of facilities. What if the investment we are talking about here, or what if the borrowing we are talking about here is actually going to cater for these facilities? So the other members were supposed to actually listen, and this is now general, that with part of what we are going to debate comes prior to this session. So while we are there, we talk and discuss and the rest. Then the other part comes out of what is going to be said by the other members. So that is why one of the members is actually supposed to be keen with what the other members are saying to identify those points where you can attack them from. If this person says that rural areas are not going to benefit because of facilities, then you've given the other group a weak point to ask you from. Because they will be saying, but we are saying borrowing for Negators. And part of why we must borrow for Negators and what makes it to be a critical investment is that we want to cater for these areas which seem to actually to have been left behind for issues of government bias and the rest and the rest and the rest. So it means that at that point, this one is nullified by the other members. Omole, if we don't borrow, how will you finance? What makes this to be a critical need? The 5-year plan. Okay, I think those were some good issues. And then you talked about the 4,000 who entered the market. There was also an issue of source. We said that every time we mention a fact, because if you mention a number, that becomes a fact. If you say 20%, then members are interested in understanding where you're getting the 20%. So we should get used to those sources. And also, we talked about presentation of evidence. In whatever way it will be, we said we'll try as much as possible to read it before the members who are listening in, so that they know that this person is quoting New Vision or Monitor or something close to that. What if you quote a wrong figure and that there is someone from Monitor who is listening in, and this person actually... So we should get used to those sources. And also, we talked about presentation of evidence. In whatever way it will be, we said we'll try as much as possible to read it before the members who are listening in, so that they know that this person is quoting New Vision or Monitor or something close to that. What if you quote a wrong figure and that there is someone from Monitor who is listening in, and this person actually has questions in his mind about where this person is getting figures from? So that is why we want to make ourselves very clear, but also sourceful, by saying according to Monitor of 14th, 2020, November, this is the point. I can see MCs laughing. I think it is in the interest of time. I'll try to wind up. Then the issue of reading verbatim, I think that has come out right. Nandudu borrowing is a risk. What if we must take the risk? Because one of the groups prior told us that you cannot move forward if you don't risk. So we also need to understand what kind of risk are we taking and how can we mitigate the risks, that all the issues that will come up with the risk. That digital infrastructure is not an urgent need. We have other needs like clean water and the rest and the rest and the rest. Can you clarify on why you think other needs are actually more urgent than digital infrastructure? So if you say that this is not urgent, then you should have better reasons to say that these others are urgent. So there you will show that even if it is borrowing, actually we might put the money that we want to get out of this in others or other basic needs other than digital infrastructure. And you can also say that when we do that, this is what the next generation will actually want, instead of Isaja. One issue is, you are saying in the past there was barter trade, today there is online trade. Again, the question is, does barter, is it barter versus online? Isn't there barter in online? And isn't there online in barter? So that is something that you also have to think about. That when you said in the past we were doing barter, now we are doing online, then we ask ourselves whether actually barter ended with the past or online is actually starting with us. Nafuna, the omission of youth, I think that was fine. A farmer's luck, talked of future revenue, but yet you are borrowing. What if this does not yield? I think that was a good observation. But then the farmers also had to prove their point that yes, this is how it is going to generate future revenue, which we cannot generate if we do not borrow or if we do not invest in digital infrastructure. That said, let me wrap it up with that. That said, one, like I've communicated, that when we go in for debate, we said our discussions before the debate session almost forms, let us say, 60% of our talk inside here. And then the 40% comes in as the areas of clarity, the areas of weaknesses from the other members. So it means that the second speaker actually has more roles to do than any other person, because he's supposed to supplement on what the first speaker said, but also identify weaknesses in the first speaker of the alternative side, as he also clarifies the point of either the affirmative or the negating. So that is why we said that we are supposed to listen keenly, and that is why it is also not a good show for us to say point of information not allowed all the time. Because like we noted, it might be that is an opportunity for you to either prove a point or to prove them wrong. And remember, all these are keenly looked at by the judges. If you can prove them wrong, then that is a minus on their side for raising something which is wrong to you, and it is a clarity on your side. So that is why, whereas you are conscious of the time, but at least once in a while you say, okay, point of information allowed, and then you say, please, can you make your point in the fewest seconds possible, because I'm tight on time. Okay, that said, we had 3 judges. Now back to the assessment. We had 3 judges here, and we said that each of the judges will assess each of you out of 100, and each team is assessed out of 900. So 3 judges for 3 members from 2 teams. That is 900 for each team. In brief and in the simplest way possible, Hamdan Girls, Judge 1 had 77% plus 80 plus 85. This gives a total of 242. Judge 2 had 71 plus 85 plus 88, which gives a total of 244. Judge 3 had 70 plus 74 plus 78, which gives a total of 222. When you add 242 plus 244 plus 222, you get a total of 708. So this is 708 out of 900. Ikiiki, Judge 1 had 75 plus 84 plus 73 to give a total of 232. Judge 2 had 69 plus 82 plus 64 to give a total of 215. And Judge 3 had 69 plus 75 plus 76 to give a total of 157. When you add 232 plus 215 plus 157, you get a total of 604 out of 900. So it is Hamdan 708 to Ikiiki 604. With that, I declare Hamdan Girls as the victor with 708 points. Thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.